Chapter 36. Jen. Michael squeezes my hand and I shift against the hard pew. I've never experienced anything like this before. The choir are all in white robes, singing soaring harmonies like something on Classic FM, and everyone in the congregation is dressed in smart woolen coats, pashmina scarves or polished shoes. It's like going back in time to the 1950s or something. I mean, it's beautiful and a bit eerie too. I don't know many of these carols well enough to sing along, so I strain my eyes at the tiny words and allow Ezra's booming voice to compensate for my own. He wants us to talk to the vicar about booking the wedding. What would I look like walking down the aisle in this place? Out of place, that's what. I know I'm not a religious person, but Michael isn't either. Not really. So, are we going to go through the motions of a churchy service with archaic vows? It makes me squirm, but even more, the thought of saying that to his parents. Sorry, Ezra, but I'm not really religious. That's not going to go down well. My thoughts are roller coastering around so fast I barely notice the readings and songs. Finally, a hush settles and the vicar stands to give an address. I'd like to ask you all to take a moment to consider this question. What are your ambitions for your life? He gets my attention. I need to sort out my writing and actually get something published. I suppose I've always wanted my own family, and getting engaged is a step towards that. I glance at Michael's profile. He probably wants to be like David Clark, running several schools by the time he's 40. It niggles me, the feeling of not being good enough for him. Mary was engaged. She was planning her wedding, as I believe some young couples among us are also doing. Surely he can't mean us. I look at Michael in surprise. His lip curls in a sly smile. She was willing to lay aside her ambitions and to threaten her own hopes and dreams in order to obey what God was calling her to do, the vicar continues. It was not an easy path before her, the shame of being pregnant, the doubts of Joseph, and isolation from the community. But Mary's faith meant that she was willing to take a path of suffering, trusting that God would continue to do great things for her. It must be nice to have faith, really. It must make the darkness a bit brighter. Without expecting to, I'm thinking about Mum again. The darkness of cancer, of grief, of refusing to forgive her. I'm sure everyone here can think of some suffering they had to go through, or perhaps are enduring right now. Perhaps this Christmas is painful. Remember that God is not far away, somewhere up there. Christmas is all about God coming down to this earth as a helpless baby. This gave Mary hope. This gives us hope too. His words juxtapose with the bleakness of my thoughts, and my eyes burn with the sting of there being no hope. Mum is gone. The finality of her death chokes me every time I think of it. There will be no recovery, no reconciliation. God may not take your suffering away, the vicar says, and I refocus on his face. It's a crowded building, but it feels like he's talking directly to me. But God's solution for suffering was ultimately seen 33 years after Jesus was born in Bethlehem. In his suffering of dying and then rising to life, Jesus broke the power of sin and death for you and for me. Anyone who believes in him shall not die but have eternal life. You see, just like for Mary, our hope comes from faith, not from our circumstances. Mary's circumstances would not have given her much hope. Perhaps yours don't either. Faith sees things that are unseen, things that are eternal. May God give you eyes to see this Christmas. I'm still stunned into a stupor when everyone stands to sing the last carol, so I rise hurriedly and brush my hair out of my face. My hand touches something wet, and I realise I'm crying. I sniff and search my pockets for a tissue. Nothing. I wipe my face as best I can, and my fingers shake as I turn the page of the hymn book. O come, all ye faithful. It's a good job I can't sing, because I would be such a hypocrite. I'm the opposite of faithful. If the suffering I've been through was a test, I failed. I didn't believe. I didn't trust. I didn't have hope. O come, let us adore him. God, is it too late for me? All I can hear is the swell of the singing, then someone gently prods my shoulder. I look to my right and Rachel holds out a packet of tissues to me. I take them gratefully and try to clean myself up before the last song ends. One advantage of being near the back is that we're primely located for a swift exit. Once the final blessing has been pronounced, Ezra stands and we shuffle along the pew and into the aisle, just a few steps away from the arch over the entrance. I hadn't counted on the vicar being there, waiting to shake our hands. "See you at midnight mass," he says to Ezra and Heather, then shakes Michael's hand warmly. "It's lovely to be able to congratulate you in person. Did you get my message about the course starting on January the 5th? "Yes, we'll be there," Michael says, with a sideways glance at me. "We?" "Congratulations, Jen." The vicar turns to me with a smile. "I look forward to getting to know you better." I give a smile that probably doesn't hide my confusion at all, then hiss to Michael as we move forwards. What does he mean? I meant to talk to you before the service, but he looks ahead to where his parents are standing, joined by Rachel. "Yes?" I press. "I signed us up for a marriage preparation course." He gives a sheepish grin. "What?" I raise my voice without thinking, then continue in a hiss when I see his parents looking over. "We only got engaged a few hours ago." "Good job you said yes then." I stare at him until he shifts awkwardly. "Michael," I say carefully, "there's something else you're not telling me." He takes a deep breath. "I wanted to check whether they had availability for Easter, and that's when Steve told me about the course." "Availability?" "Well, some people book these things 2 years in advance, so..." "Wait, are you telling me you've booked the wedding?" I can't stop the shrillness of my voice now. His face turns slightly red. "It's just penciled in. With a permanent marker." I take a step away from him and shake off his arm. "So come on then, Michael. What's the date for our big day? When were you planning to tell me? The week before?" "Why don't we go back to the house and talk about it?" he says, looking around pointedly. "Sure, I'll get my diary out and see if I'm free for one of the most important days of my life." "Michael!" Christina calls from the church entrance. He gives me an apologetic look and then walks over to her, completely ignoring my warning stare. "Everything okay?" Rachel holds back from joining her parents, who've started walking home. I stride forwards and she falls into step beside me. "I can't believe it. He booked the church without even asking me, without even proposing to me first." She winces. "Michael is frighteningly efficient. He's faster than a bolt of lightning, and I can't keep up." I let out a sob involuntarily, wiping my eyes again. She must think I'm an emotional freak. "I haven't even told my family we're engaged yet." "He's obviously so nuts about you that he wants everything sorted as soon as possible." Rachel smiles. "Look, I can talk to him if you want." I sniff and nod. "Sure."